Hey y'all, we're gonna be doing some videos. I'm starting to do some videos, at least a little bit nervous about it. Not sure what you guys want to see, not sure what I want to get out of it. But I'm gonna start talking to some of my friends, and hopefully you guys can offer me some suggestions about who you think I should talk to, what you want us to talk about. It can be anything from business to personal life. I'm just interested in hearing from you guys and hearing about what things you want to hear about. Facebook is flooded with a lot of head trash, and I want to see how we can get through that. So help me, and let's grow together.
I'm asking each of you to be pioneers towards that new frontier.
We are prepared to reaffirm with the most concrete evidence our readiness to help build a world in which all people can be productive and prosperous.
The first time I met you was on Halloween, which we don't necessarily need to get into that because that's just one of those nights where you don't really need to cover the details. You don't need to cover the details of Halloween. Sure. No one's Halloween needs to be remembered, not specifically. So the first time I actually really met you though was we were at Buffalo Wild Wings because we were all doing the Spartan race together. No, wait,
the Tough Mudder.
Yep. We were doing the Tough Mudder with my dad, and then there was a whole group of us. Yep. And I was dating a girl at the time. And I remember you showed up, and you didn't really know that I was dating this particular girl. And you made a comment. You made a comment like, "Man, I heard she's dating this guy, blah blah blah." And you made some comment. And you're like, "Just another one in the mill." Like you were talking about how I was just another one in the chain gang, basically.
But I didn't know that.
And you didn't know at the time that I was dating her. And so everyone was like, got quiet. And I think Brendan turned. He's like, "Yeah, that's George is dating her," or maybe the comment was George thinks he's dating her. I'm not really sure, but that's how I remember our first like true interaction, because I didn't really know you. You showed up after everybody, and she was actually running with us, but she showed up later too.
Oh, that's kind of her MO, is showing up late to stuff.
Yeah, she didn't come with us
if she shows up at all. Yeah, no. Okay, so I don't remember it that way, but
I just remember it was funny.
Yeah, that is funny. I'm glad I could hopefully help you kind of maybe work your way out of that relationship.
I mean, I think it probably took some time still.
So that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, like I remember we had this huge group. We had a bunch of common friends, but we were not friends yet. And it was, one of the first things I did when I moved back to Fort Wayne, because I had been just up in Angola working for China University and stuff. And so we just kind of had this group of common friends. We were doing this Tough Mudder. I just kind of jumped in along with everybody. And I remember you and I were just like, you probably were a little off-put of my short American flag running shorts.
Totally
that I wore. Or maybe you were encouraged by it.
It was encouraged by it.
Yeah, so you probably enjoyed that, probably maybe a little too much. But I just remember thinking like, a bunch of the people we were running with were smokers, and they were kind of dragging behind. And so you and I were off and running way out ahead of people, like trying to like get this thing done and try to do it competitively, even though it was more of a fun thing. Yeah. And I just remember thinking like, yeah, this guy's like, we're kind of like-minded, we're competitive guys and stuff. And yeah, I mean, that was kind of our first, or at least remembering meeting and stuff, and we've been friends ever since. I mean, I've had the privilege of doing a one-day road trip to Nashville to buy your now wife's engagement ring.
That was fun. She didn't know we were going.
I got to be there when you proposed to your wife in Key West, and you got to...
She didn't know that was happening either.
She didn't know that was happening either. I'm sensing a theme. And you got to marry me and my wife. You officiated our wedding. So, I mean, it's
first
crazy
time I did that.
How, over 5 years of friendship, how much can happen in, our adult lives still, which was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, you think back to like when you're, I don't know, elementary school, and the friends that you make, who are those people? Are they the people who live in your neighborhoods? Are they the people that you're on activities with? And why do they become your friends so quickly? And why doesn't that happen more like as adults? But when it does happen when you're adult, you know it right away. I mean, there's been certain people who were my clients first, and then they just became my friends, people that I will go meet for dinner. Or yesterday I had a great meeting with someone who's not even really my client, and I didn't even think was going to be someone I really liked. Not necessarily liked, but someone who I didn't know if I was going to gel with. And it wound up being probably one of the better meetings I've had in like 6 months with someone. And so how does that happen? Why does it happen? Is it because you have these common interests, or is it just because you're like-minded? And I guess it goes back to the running aspect, but the running to me is like an offshoot. I don't consider myself a runner. I enjoy doing it, but I know that like if I did it every day, I'd probably hurt myself. So my running a marathon was like kind of hitting a benchmark for me. Something I wanted to do before I got too old to be able to do it. You, on the other hand, are running with Team RWB and Run for the Fallen. You're running hundreds of miles. And I jokingly have said I wanted to do that, but like there's something, I mean, and even kind of a marathon, but there's something that drives you to do that. I don't know what it is necessarily. What makes some people not want to ever run a mile, and then other people want to torture themselves for hundreds of miles?
Well, I too would not necessarily. For me, the events that I do, they're not, I've never done a marathon before. You checked that box before I ever have. But the reason I do these runs is the purpose behind that. So, the Indiana Run for the Fallen is a remembrance run. It's remembering the 250 some soldiers from Indiana that have died in battle since the War on Terror started. So with this run, every mile we run, we stop, we read a soldier's name, we plant a flag, and then we run the next mile. So it's this amazing sense of, you talk about, making those friends as kids. It's this amazing sense of camaraderie that you form with the other runners that you're doing this with, and the common mission. I've never been active military, but a lot of these guys that I run with are active military or veterans themselves. And so, I get a taste of what that field of battle is like, that kind of camaraderie that soldiers form, overseas when they're deployed in battle and stuff like that. And that's my why for doing those types of things. I'd be hard pressed to wake up in the morning and want to go run 20 miles, which is why I think I'm not a runner, because I don't wake up and want to do that. But with the purpose behind it, I'll do it all day. You know what I mean? So.
And mine's not nearly as altruistic as that. Mine's more like I'm literally punishing myself. It feels like I'm like going out there and it's a form of torture almost, because it's, I think, more of a proving to myself and completing something that I don't think I can do. I mean, I don't ever do anything kind of halfway. I'm always like completely in and over the top about it, or kind of lukewarm about it. And I don't know why that is, and I'm not sure why I can't just keep a consistent schedule. I don't have a normal routine, I feel like. I mean, even during the day, I don't have a normal routine. I don't have a normal night routine. I don't have a normal morning routine. Every day is like a new journey for me. I don't get up. I used to get up and then go to the same coffee shop. My schedule's gotten such that I don't even do that anymore. So maybe I should develop a routine. I mean, it should be something. I feel like the reason I haven't done a routine though is because I've been so busy in everything else that I'm doing that I haven't had a chance to. For the wintertime, got a membership to go to local gym to go running, and I used it enough to warrant having it, but not nearly as much as I said I was going to.
Right. Well, I mean, that's why they say routines are so important, is to give, to build in the time of the things that are also important to you. You hear people always say, their excuses of, I don't have time to do this. I don't have time to work out. I don't have time. You don't have kids, Sam. Of course you can go work out. You don't have kids. Well, we all have the same time in our day. It's just a matter of what we make a priority. And obviously, someone who has kids, that's a priority in their life that I don't have yet. But also, if you also think about fitness, health, whatever the things that you want to create in your routine as important to you, don't you think health and fitness is something that is also a priority for your child? To be able to love and support and be there for your child for not just their young life, but their whole life. I mean, just to be able to have that activity level when when you have grandkids, to still be able to play and see and be active with your grandkids and things like that. So I think it's just about reframing people's mindset about what's important to them, and priorities to them, and then creating a schedule around those things that are important to you. Fitness is something that's important to you, and yeah, we're all really busy. Well, okay, maybe fitness has to happen at 5:30 in the morning. That stinks. I don't want to do that, but some days it's the only time of day that I can make it work, and so I have to do it too.
Well, you talk about priority, and so you hear people talk about like work-life balance, and I've just never been one that, I don't really know that I believe in work-life balance, because I feel like your entire life is about balance, no matter where it's at. You're as an organism, you are trying to always find balance. That's what every cell in your body is trying to do every single day. So I'm trying to find a way to incorporate everything into itself so that it's not a balancing act. Because when you start spinning all those plates, they're bound to fall if you haven't figured out a way to balance your life so that when you go to work, it's not a detriment to your home life, or vice versa. If you can't put in place a system at work that it will run when you're not there, then when you leave, it's going to come tumbling down. And I'm finally getting to the place in my business where I was explaining this the other day, that it's you either have like a single gear bike or you have like a 10-speed. And when you have that single gear bike, you have to always be pedaling, because if you're not pedaling, then you're not going anywhere.
That's a really good
right. So I finally got myself to a place where maybe I've got like a 5-speed. I don't quite have a 10-speed. I got a couple gears here that I can throw on there, but I'm at the place where I can take my feet off the pedals and the bike still moves without me having to generate that momentum a little bit, because I put in place a system that works so that my staff and people who are at my office can actually understand what the intent is with any given project. And that's the part that I've really been trying to focus on, is give ownership over to my staff so that they can take over the things that I know that I can't do by myself. So it's a balancing act. The same thing, home life. We were talking earlier. I begrudgingly, and my wife heard this, she would make me say something nice to her, but I begrudgingly handed over the bill-paying responsibilities to her, and it was hard at first, because to me it feels like I was trying to balance all the different things, student loans, and really with more of the student loans, being concerned about what her thoughts were going to be on having so many student loans because of what my career was. And so when I turned over the loans to her, or turned over the bills to her, I was more like scared about, I think, maybe pushback from her. And she's taken over all that stuff, which she wanted to do that because she has to have that knowledge. She wants to understand what's coming and going, and she cares about it more so than I do. So I'm glad that she's taken that responsibility over, even if I begrudgingly handed it over to her when she did it. But that's another place where you find that balance at home a little bit, like you do at the office. I mean, there's certain things like she's not putting in ceiling fans. She's not like catching raccoons in the backyard. She's not getting on the roof, right? And so there's a trade-off. There's that balance there. And once you find it and it's able to, that system runs itself, you don't have to like micromanage it. You don't have to be pedaling so hard.
Right. I love that analogy of a fixed gear bike, which you pedal to start it and you slow to stop it. I mean, if you're not pedaling,
it's dragging you. I mean, it will tire you out, because it's gonna keep moving your feet unless you stop.
Right. And I think, you talk about work-life balance. We're both, self-employed, to some extent. You in law, me in real estate, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of self-employed people use that term, that work-life balance, because we don't really get to punch the clock. It's all the time. It's all day, every day. It's all week, every week. But that analogy that you made about the systems, the right people in place to keep the wheel turning, while you're away, that's so important, not just for you and for your balance of life. I won't even use that term work-life balance, but just your balance of life in your company and everything. That's so important. But I feel like a lot of business people struggle giving up that control too, and that's a big step to take as a professional, to give over some of that control. You did it in your work life. You handed this responsibility to this person, this responsibility to this person, so you can focus on, you know, the highest goal of the company and of the firm. And you're doing that at home too. You know, you're taking this piece where it's like, okay, I don't want to lose control of this, but it's also something that I don't need to have my hands on every day and my mind wrapped around every day, when I have this partner at home who's able, willing, and capable of doing those types of things.
She's probably more capable and willing than I am, honestly, because she cares more about that. She's more insular when it comes to that. She wants to have parameters. I'm not one that likes parameters. I'm diversified and all that. And I know that you're like that too, and that's where I take it into the different areas of my life, because once you spread yourself thin enough, you can't expect yourself to get certain things done alone, and so you have to put in those checklists. That's why pilots, they have a checklist that they go through twice before they put a plane in the air, because if they don't, planes crash. And the exact same thing happens with employment. You talk about entrepreneurs, self-employed people. It seems that there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there who put in place what they think is going to be this really successful business, and they get it up in the air, but they haven't gone through all the checklists, and it's more of a kite than it is a plane, and you're holding on by a string. And I've, lucky enough, never been like that. I've always only ever had upward mobility since I started my practice, and that's good. But I have to try and set that same formula up for my wife, for my friends and family, for the people who work with and for me, because if I don't do that, then we're all going to come crashing down. So that's what did you say? Blending together. I look at like a Venn diagram. That's what it was. So in my head, I've got this kind of Venn diagram, and there's so many overlapping parts.
So many different circles.
Yeah, I mean, between your recreation and your business and your personal life, but you have these systems in place, and sometimes they overlap, and you have to duplicate them in different areas. So that's what I've been trying to do more, and I haven't done that with my fitness, and that's the part that I struggle with most right now.
I think that's a problem with so many people, and I mean, you do a better job than a lot of people, and I mean, everyone's struggling with that. You know, everyone has a hard day at work, and the last thing they want to do is go home and work out. You know, but that's where, you know, creating that system, if it's a priority, if it's something you value in your life, you put the system in place, and it's not easy. It's easy to say the kind of hot button word, you know, systems, but that's not easy. That's just a keyword that sums up a whole lot of work that goes into that process. You know, to say a system, you know, is a simple word, but there's a lot that goes into that to create that habit, to create that process, to create that routine into your life, whether it's work or business, you know, work or home or social, you know, that goes into it. So it's, you know, it's something we all struggle with for sure.
Well, and when you change your perspective on something, you can also change what that system looks like. You can change what your emotional response to something is going to be. You know, it's so much about perspective and understanding where you're at in your orientation with the people around you. Because if you don't know exactly where you're at, I mean, I told somebody the other day, I was walking, you're flying blind in the dark. You've got no instruments, you've got nothing, you know you're in the air, you don't know how high you are. But if you're not oriented to the people around you, you don't have any perspective. And without that perspective, you can't actually govern your responses. You can't change the gears on the bike. And that's, I think, the biggest thing for me, where I'm at in my practice right now, is understanding whether or not I've got that next gear. And if I have that next gear, is it a gear that is stable enough for me to ride on? Because I'm at this place where it's like, if I grow and I hire somebody, or your business grows and you backfill a position or something like that, that business then has to stay there, because you can't, otherwise you have to let somebody go.
Right.
And you want to manage your growth properly, and that's the part that's the speed bump that I'm seeing right now, is that I don't know what my next step should be. I don't know what the smart next step is, and that's the part that I'm wrestling with right now.
You are really riding this bike analogy.
I'm riding it into the sunset.
It's beautiful. It is beautiful. So you talked about people changing their perspective, and that made me think of something that I've been thinking about today as we prepared for this. Let's do our 3 things. Let's talk about that, because my perspective has to do with my 3 things.
So what we should tell people the 3 things is about. The 3 things that we started was based on something I read from the Happiness Advantage. And I don't remember who wrote the book right now to save my life, but it's called the Happiness Advantage. And
I've never read that. I didn't know that's where it came from.
It came from a book called the Happiness Advantage.
Okay.
And the idea is, it's called the Tetris effect. Is that when you sit down, you start playing the game Tetris, and they did a whole scientific survey on this that I won't bore you with, but Harvard did this whole study where they had people play Tetris all day long, and and when they go outside, the buildings look like Tetris blocks, and so they only saw Tetris blocks. And so the idea behind the 3 things is that you set an alarm on your phone for 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 10 o'clock, whatever, and
whatever fits in your life.
Whatever fits in your life. And at that time, whoever you're with, you go through and you do, and you can do it by yourself. You do the 3 things in your day that had a positive effect on you, or were just a positive thing in your day. So that way you focus on the good in your day.
Constantly looking at the positive.
And constantly looking at the positive. That way, throughout the day, when you get a routine on this, you're looking at all the positive stuff.
Now, what I will say, you say you can do this by yourself, but always more effective to have someone that keeps you accountable, does it, to do it consistently and stuff like that as well. So
I had an alarm on my phone. It went off at like 10:30 every night.
So when we started doing this, we did this back when we were roommates, kind of before and during and after, kind of carried that after we were roommates and lived together for a little while. We had an alarm set on our phones for 10 o'clock. And it started as a random thing. It started because we were both in a period of our life where we needed to focus on the good, because we weren't necessarily. I was crashing on your futon. I needed to focus on some good. Let's be honest.
Oh, I was in the same situation. We both needed to focus on the good that was going on in our life, so that we could, we could get away from focusing on the things that were not going the way we wanted to them, and realize that we really were lucky people. Yeah.
So we set an alarm on our phones. It started as a sporadic thing. We would grab people at a bar when we'd be out at night, and we'd try to get them involved with us. But we set an alarm on our phone for 10 p.m. every night. So even if we weren't together, we would text each other our 3 things that we were thankful for. So you told me earlier today you needed some positivity today. So let's do our 3 things for today.
Oh, okay.
You want to start? Or you want me to start?
I want you to start.
Okay. So when you talked about changing your perspective, this was one of the good things that I had realized today. I recently had a shoulder injury, kind of threw me for a loop based off of my normal fitness regimen, and fitness is a huge aspect of my life. It's my sanity. If I don't get a good sweat in for the day, I'm not the same person when I come home to my wife at night, and she does not like the person that I am when I come home and haven't had the chance to relieve that stress. So I've been struggling finding connection to my fitness still with this injury, feeling very limited on what I can do. So I kind of found this new program, and today was like the first day that I did the program that I had found, and it felt amazing. It felt great on my shoulder. It was a great workout. I didn't feel like overly beat down or exhausted afterwards. I felt like I got a great workout, and I was so positive and optimistic about following this program for the future that I finally kind of got over that really kind of almost sad feeling that I had, where I'm like, man, I'm not going to be able to CrossFit as intensely as I did before. So that's my first positive thing for today, is that I feel really positive about about my goals in fitness going forward. And they might not be the same goals, but they're adjusted, and I have a plan that can help me get there. So,
yeah.
So that's my first one.
I like it.
That's number one.
You know, what I really like about this is when those random times when we did have a table full of 4 people, you know, because it takes you like a solid hour and a half to get through everyone's
I mean, it's
things.
a night of conversation if you've got a table full of people talking about their day. Yeah.
Well, and what I liked, it was like genuine, sincere conversation you were having with other people that made you connect with them on a real way instead of talking about, you know, small talk.
How's work?
How's
family?
How's the weather?
Good.
Yeah.
Fine.
So my first thing is I'm not going on spring break. And that to me is a positive thing because everyone else is. And it means that I've got some time to take care of all the things that have been building up, that have built up on my desk for the past 2 months with everything going on in my personal life that's taken me away from my work. It's giving me an opportunity to actually sit down and do everything without this like pressure of every other project that I have sort of weighing me down because all those people are out of town. So my staff is out of town. So not going on spring break is a positive. And it kind of dawned on me today because two of my staff left today and I was just getting caught up on stuff. And it was nice to feel like a breath of fresh air a little bit. Yeah. To not feel like I was getting strangled by my work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's not taking a vacation sometimes is just as helpful for work or for your relaxation and for your mindset as taking one sometimes because you just get a chance to get caught up. Yeah. My second one, it's a little shout out to my wife. My wife's a rock star. I'm so lucky to have her because we've been renovating our house for far too long, and she's been living with me and her have been living with my parents for far too long. Love my parents. But we're finally back in our house, and she's just been a rock star, like getting the house put back together. She knows how much it's to have boxes everywhere and to have rooms still not, you know, finished painting or anything like that. So, you know, when she has the time, she's been working her butt off on it. We got me moved back into my home office, which has helped a ton with my mindset and my habits of starting my day and everything right at home with work and everything. So that's my number 2 is rockstar wife, killing it at the house, and also just super happy to be in such a great home that we have kind of put our heart and souls in over the last 3 months with renovations and everything too.
Now I gotta think of 2 more things. That was really my big thing.
Yeah. They can be little too. They don't need to be big.
I mean, when we first started talking about this, one of the big things was like I got to wear jeans to work today. Oh, I got my 2 things. Okay.
That's nice.
So, whenever you can wake up in the morning and put on jeans to go to work, there's a certain level of, I don't know, it's just de-stressing. I feel like some people get jobs where they get to go to the office every day with jeans on, and that's great. I'm envious of some of them, or yoga pants or whatever it is that they get to wear that I don't.
Please don't wear yoga pants to work.
No, I got to wear jeans today, and I felt relaxed, and it was a nice way to kick off my day because it just felt like I'd been kind of just eating dirt for the past 2 months and like got to be casual today. So yeah.
Well, I'm gonna take a cop out on number 3, and I might steal one from you or something. But I'm just happy to be here with you, man. Like you're a great friend. I can't believe how quickly our friendship's grown over 5 years. That you'd be the guy that, you know, tells me to kiss my wife and, you know, calls us by name for the first time. And you know, we get to do stuff like this all the time behind the scenes, not on camera. But here we get to do this today, and you know, it's fun.
Yeah, many more to come.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my third thing is I took my staff to lunch at Nawa on the Landing.
Awesome.
My partner was in town, Dan Grayley, who hasn't ever been there. I can't believe I got him to actually go to a Thai restaurant.
Right.
He got something that fit his diet, which he was happy about. But yeah, we went to Nawa, and I really enjoy that place. And everyone else did too. So
Cool.
that was a plus for me.
Yeah. Awesome. All good things. So now everyone else should go out and set a calendar update on their phone.
Everyone else needs to do this. Particularly if you're feeling crappy, you need to set an alarm on your phone. And even if you're not feeling crappy, but particularly if you're feeling in the dumps, like, you should do this because it really does help. It sounds cheesy and corny, but I guarantee there's no better way to meet new people at a public location, maybe embarrass yourself, but get outside your shell a little bit and meet some new people.
And some days are hard to find those three things. Sometimes they're the littlest, tiniest things. You know, maybe you ate your favorite bowl of cereal in the morning and that was the best thing about your day. But you know what? That's a good thing. That's one good thing that made you happy in that moment and that you can look back on your day and be happy about. So some days are harder than others to find those three things, but they're there. And the key is that you're looking for them.
Yeah.
And when you see them, you know, when you realize them at the end of the day and you build that habit in, you start realizing them when they happen to you in the moment. And you realize you're a lucky person. You're happy to be where you're at, no matter how hard things are.
It's funny you use the bowl of cereal. I tell my clients sometimes when they're like, well, how do you know what the judge is going to do? I'm like, I don't know what the judge is going to do. Sometimes I just have to bank that he or she got their poppy seed muffin at the coffee shop this morning, because if they didn't, it's a bad day.
Right.
And so, no, I tell it to my clients all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's all about a poppy seed muffin.
Sometimes it's all about a poppy seed muffin.
Yeah.
Stop. Park the bike at the bike rack and lock it up, George.
Thanks for showing up today.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for being you.
I'm trying. Thanks for being you.
You just stole my line.